Background checks for gun purchases hitting a new record high last month. The FBI conducting 2.8 million background checks on people wanting to buy guns in the month of December alone. That surpassed the previous record of 2 million in November of last year. Background checks for the year came in at just under 20 million, a nearly 20% increase from the previous year. A Gannett-owned newspaper has hired armed guards after it published maps highlighting the names of gun owners in 2 counties just north of New York City. The Journal News, based in Westchester County, says it's received a torrent of negative phone calls and emails in response to an article which was published just before Christmas. Gannett has refused to comment on the controversy, but apparently the newspaper is reconsidering with those armed guards the role of guns in our society. I guess they probably think that they have superior rights to the readers of their august publication. Well, a growing number of states say they will consider laws to arm teachers after the tragedy at Sandy Hook Elementary School. My next guest school district has permitted teachers to carry concealed guns at school since 2007. Joining us now, Superintendent for the Herald School District in Texas, David Thweatt. David, it is, first of all, so good of you to be with us. I know it was a great inconvenience to travel as far as you must. You've had teachers with guns for that long. How is that working, and what is the reaction in your community and around the state?
It's working great, Lou. We've, like I said, we passed it in October of '07 in reaction to the Pennsylvania Amish shooting in Virginia Tech, and we thought that was enough impetus to try to go ahead and get this started. And we have what we call the Guardian Plan. We have 4 elements. They have to have a CHL, they have to be approved by our local school board, they have to undergo training, and then we use frangible ammunition, which is ammunition that breaks apart when it hits hard objects. So we've had this in place since October of '07, and it's going well.
Considered to be non-lethal bullets, and the idea that some are raising right now that it's unimaginable that we would have armed guards, for example, or armed teachers in our schools because it would upset the children. How do you react to that?
Well, I think that's just silly, first of all. There are guns in the status quo, Lou. There are resource officers and police officers and inside our schools, and so all I did was come up with an alternative plan, and that was to train personnel. It says employees, it's not just teachers, employees throughout the school. And what this does is gives us some redundancy. We don't have to have one person who's going to get the flu or go to lunch and be missing in action like a security guard. We have them strategically placed throughout the building, so therefore we have good protection for our kids.
And you know, I hope that you never have to test that system out ever. Your level of confidence in it and those who are armed at your school, at your schools.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, it's something that has to have been done since 1990. I think that's what caused having these gun-free zones, and it created the problem 22 years ago, and now we're just trying to fix that problem.
Have you heard from other school districts saying, how did you carry out your program? You talk about resource.
Absolutely.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Absolutely. Yeah, from all over Texas, all over the United States, lawmakers in other states to try to write legislation. So, yes, I have been in touch with many people over the last 2 weeks.
I want to ask you whether you carry a weapon or not. I don't think that's probably, unless you want to say, but the fact is, having teachers and having those there, resource officers, whomever it may be, on that ground, that's got to be a real comfort to parents, isn't it?
It is, and it was before, but it really was, you know, Friday a week ago, whenever this tragedy occurred, whenever all of our parents, really was kind of interesting because now we have, you know, Facebook and many other social media, and they just lit up saying thank you for having the foresight to protect our kids. And on that day, many schools across the nation went into lockdown. We didn't.
Yeah, and you know, that speaks such volumes because, you know, our law enforcement in this country, I think is absolutely terrific. But the time necessary to call the police, to call law enforcement, and with the best response, so much can happen, so much that is tragic before they can even be on the scene. It's just unrealistic to expect them to be able to prevent those tragedies, whereas if you're armed in the first instance, you have that opportunity.
Right, and just like you say, the tragedy the other day took less than 3 or 4 minutes. Fort Hood took 3 minutes, Virginia Tech about 9 minutes. People don't understand, and as you say, our police officers are heroes. They don't receive enough tribute, but we have to say that they can't be there on time, 95% of the time.
Well, we certainly appreciate you, David, being here. We appreciate everything you're doing. I know your folks there in Texas appreciate all you've done. You're setting an example, and it'll be interesting to see how the rest of the nation responds. David Threet, thank you so much.
Thanks a lot. Appreciate it.